level, you can tell him I said it. Level up. God level, you can tell him I said it. Level up, level up, level up, go. Everything, that means everything. Eyes connected to everything. And that's why I'm in everything. All eyes on me, all eyes on everything. That means everything. Eyes connected to everything.
And I like how you have all your albums broke down on YouTube, like literally, because she doesn't have Apple Music. So I was on YouTube when I found your page from her phone and went through, baby, we was jamming all the way to Columbia. So yeah, John's my highway music. If y'all don't know who John is, John Master Skywalker, he got 5 albums out there. Go get it, baby. Go get it. And I want to welcome everyone to This Is Things That People Don't Want to Talk About. This is God Level. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a mother. I'm a nurse. I'm a friend. I'm an aunt. I'm a GG. I have this podcast. I'm an entrepreneur. I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
John Skywalker, the Sly Talker here. I'm a lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and I am a father who is actually making a hip hop album called Father's Day. I was going to try to release it this year, but due to some resource issues, I'm going to definitely release it next year. I just got that full clip right there. This is going to be dedicated to the dads, obviously, but that doesn't mean that the ladies and the moms can't chime in, because I'm sure you guys will be able to listen to it and be like, oh, all right. So that's coming up next year around Father's Day. So yeah, you should go ahead and just follow John Skywalker on your music streaming platform, so you can tap into that, because you're not gonna hear anything like this except with John Skywalker. I'm that confident.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I second that. I'm sorry. Ivy Tanner, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
What up, y'all? It's your girl Ivy, also known as Inattentive Ivy on some platforms on TikTok. I am a mom, a sister, former broadcast journalist with the U.S. military. I speak about mental health and ADHD for us neurospicy ladies and in our community, because it just presents different. I got about 16, 17, 11 hamsters running around in here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy to be of service. And as always, I'm going to keep it a buck.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. AP, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Yes, I'm AP. I always laugh. Okay, so I got to break it down. I always laugh at my introduction, because you know what you do until you have to tell somebody about what you do. So it just seemed like it'd be so. It's not. It don't pop like it should. So I'm gonna work on something for y'all. But I am a community advocate for children. I work at a youth center here. I'm also a pharmacy technician. I also have my own non-for-profit Sisters Empowerment House. So I got a lot of things going on, but I got to get a better description for y'all, so mine can sound good. Follow me on YouTube and all that stuff, because I don't even know what my names are. I know my real name though. I got that part down.
You are funny, girl.
Oh my God. We have our special guest, Mike Lee, back. We bring him back once a month to do just a short description of life insurance that is very well needed in our community. I'm going to say it again. We need to get rid of the fish fries and the GoFundMes and actually start getting life insurance policies to leave behind for our children. Do not leave them any debt. And do not put people in a position where it's a burden to bury you. I'm sorry, Mike, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the consistency that you guys have. I'm grateful for the topics that you bring to the forefront, because you're dealing with a diverse bag. So I'm also a subject matter expert. So if you've been doing something for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you know it in and out, you are a subject matter expert and you bring value to the marketplace. I don't care what it is. If you're a mechanic, you are a subject matter expert and you bring value to the marketplace. Because once somebody's car breaks down, guess what? The fact that they have you in their network, you know how they say your network is your net worth? When they can call you and be like, bro, sis, this is what's going on with my car. Can you just take a look at it? And they can tell you, look, bro, you ain't got to do this, you ain't got to do this. All you need to do is this. You just saved yourself something, right? So think about your personal craft and look at yourself as a subject matter expert, because you probably are. So my thing is finance. My thing is making sure people that look like me, that look like you, have all the information that they need when it comes to money. I need people to understand how money works, right? You guys ever, whether you're religious or not, most books have something along these lines that says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they get older, they won't depart from it, right?
That part, yeah.
Essentially saying, do the best that you can with your children, so when they get older, they have morals and principles and ethics that you've instilled in them. Well, when it comes to finance, a lot of the people that look like us, our parents did the best job that they possibly could, but they didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle, right? That it's a gift and a curse to train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they get older, they don't depart from it. If your parents had limited information when it comes to finances, most likely you have limited information when it comes to finances. The way that you get over that is to find a subject matter expert that knows about what you're trying to learn, right? That's where I come in. That's why they invite me every single month, is because it's not because insurance has new things to it. No, it's just there are things in our lives that we're going to have to hear a couple times. Because this time you hear something and you're thinking about it like, wow, that was dope. That was deep. That actually makes sense. Well, you missed the next 5 to 10 seconds of what I was saying, right? So I come back to bring value. I come back to answer questions. I come back to dispel all myths when it comes to not only just the life insurance industry, but just money in general, right? Typically, we're going to be a product of our environment. So if you grew up in a certain neighborhood, you have a certain understanding of how the world works. But what it really is that's how your environment works. That's not the world. A lot of the times, people that are educated are the most well-traveled people. People that have gone and seen different things and have had different experiences and have been to a third world country and see what poverty looks like, and also see what fulfillment and happiness looks like in the same conversation and in the same place. They've also seen things where, wow, this is absolutely beautiful, the most beautiful place that I've ever been, but it gives them vision and dreams, right? So people that are well-traveled are well-educated. What I come to do is give you a different environment, a different way of thinking, okay? I am what you consider a mindset maven. I help people change their minds on different things. Now, we got a long topic and we're going to get all this stuff in within an hour. So I'm going to spend about 3 more minutes. We're going to break down this life insurance piece so y'all can understand it to its core. All right. First things first, when it comes to life insurance, do you know, you guys can guess, the number one reason why people don't have life insurance?
They don't know about it?
So most of us have heard of it.
Yeah.
Don't know the value of it.
Ooh.
Maybe they think it's too expensive.
Boom. That's it.
We trick off $50 every week on bullshit. Come on now.
That's it.
Fact.
The number one reason why people don't have life insurance is because they think that it's way more expensive than it actually is. Okay. So that's an invite. That's a challenge to you guys that don't know how much insurance costs for you to connect with us, so you can know. Everybody on this call has a life insurance policy. I'm just gonna let y'all know off rip. Everybody on this call. So they're walking it like they talk it. Okay. I'm challenging you to know what your options are. I'm not pushing. It's your family, it's your legacy that you're leaving. But I will explain to you the intricacies and the things that you can actually be accessing. There are not-for-profit life insurance companies out here. What does that mean? That means, number one, they're more affordable. And number two, because they're not for profit, they have programs that their members can actually access. If you got kids, they have scholarships, right? They have parental legacy programs where if mom and dad passes away, the guardian gets child support money, $900 per month per child. They have online courses that will allow your children to learn a craft before they go to college, so they don't have to lose the first 1 or 2 years like I did. Right? They have a discount club where you can actually be getting discounts on movies, hotels, rental cars, shows, tickets, you name it. They probably have something along those lines, right? Like if you're older, they write people's wills for free. This is all free stuff that if you haven't heard about it, then I invite you and I challenge you to have the conversation about insurance, because there's things that's out there, right? Train up a child in the way that they should go so when they get older, they don't depart from it. Your children and your legacy is depending on you to capture this information so they can be ahead of the next generation. I'm Robin Hood. I'm grabbing all the good stuff and I'm bringing it back to the crib. All right. So that being said, feel free to leverage myself. You got my phone number, my information down there. I have partners that I work with, and collectively we want to make sure that you are informed. For those people that's ready to retire or just have retired, guess what? You ain't got to lose money in the market no more. Right? Y'all got that 401k? What happens is your money do this? Well, you ain't got the time for the market to come back up if it goes down. We got you.
Yeah.
You got young kids, you want them to have money set to the side where they ain't never got to worry about anything as they get older. We can teach you. So we got you. I'm excited to sit back and listen to this podcast and maybe throw in 1 or 2 things, whatever. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And,
Always.
The audience.
It's always a pleasure having you, Mike.
Always.
It's always a pleasure having you. Always. He comes back once a month. Every month he comes in and he talks about this life insurance. We are serious about this because we see it far too often. People are being taken at an early age quickly without warning. And then they have children. You want something to leave behind for your children, and you do not want your family burdened by trying to take care of your funeral arrangement services, all of that money wise. Fish fries. How many pieces of fish can I eat? Because the average cost of a funeral services is $10,000. That's the average cost.
Even
so
if you do, even if you cremate somebody, it's $1,300. Who got an extra $1,300 to give to somebody else?
And we strap right now.
That they should be responsible for.
Yeah, and we strap right
now. My $1,300 goes to the stuff I need.
Just as importantly is the legacy that you leave. You done a lot of good things in your life, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't want to leave that nasty taste in people's mouth.
No, you don't.
About it. It's a legacy thing, right? Honor yourself by getting some life insurance to make sure that you got everything nice and tight.
Yes.
And then think about your children having to go live with somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not easy taking care of your own kids, let alone having 2 extra kids. It would be a whole lot easier to take care of your children while you go if you had, that money put up.
I have 1 left.
And just like Mike said, what was it? What is it? A stipend that you get if the parents die?
Yep, it's a parental legacy program. So think about myself. I got a 5-year-old and I got a 2-year-old, right? So if something happens to myself and my spouse, then guess what? My children are orphaned, right? They don't have their parents anymore. Obviously, we have life insurance to make sure that they're straight, but what they also don't have is the financial backing that we are providing for them every single month. How expensive are kids? Think about all the expenses that you have because you have a child. That's it. Yep. Because you got a child, you got expenses. So $900 per month per child. Think about what that's going to do for the person that's now taking care of your children. They didn't birth these children. They love these children, but they didn't ask for these children. That $900 per month per child is making sure that they can put food on the table, clothes on their backs. They want to play sports, they can. Not only do they have to deal with the physical and the mental battle of losing both parents, or one parent and then the other, but the financial hardship of that. What does that look like? So it addresses that, and it's completely free. So if somebody has a State Farm policy and your policy doesn't do that, and just give y'all a hint, your policy doesn't do that, then you need to reanalyze and say, what is my policy doing for me outside of the death benefit? If you're active in the community and your policy isn't doing something for you outside of the death benefit, then you need, if you were looking at this situation third party, somebody that is not involved, you would tell these two people, you probably need to take a look at that, because they have something that you currently don't have. It's logical. This is not an emotional thing. It's logical to check, right? Comcast to Verizon. You change cable companies, it is what it is. Like, but bruh, like Verizon is now giving us this, and this. What are we talking about?
Right.
Yes. Spectrum wants to give me $29 per line, and I know how much I'm paying with Verizon, and I'm not gonna look into that. Come on now. So yeah, I get what you're saying. We get what you're saying. All right. Well,
I'm gonna put one last thing in there, because I saw something on the news and it says that the average family of that's 2 adults and 2 children, it takes it would take $170,000 a year to live comfortably.
I seen that.
So think about that. I don't know how close that 900 will get you based off of other people's income, but you would need that extra $900 for those children that you leave behind. But not really extra.
It's not extra. That's exactly right. That's what I was saying. $1 saved is $1 earned, because if I'm not having to pay for the groceries for these children, some people got 4 kids. 2 kids is $1,800 a month. If something happened, Big Mama, my mama, she would take that $1,800 and she gonna stretch it out for those kids to make sure that they're straight. But if she don't have that option, what is she gonna stretch out? What she already has? Important.
Oh, I know, I just heard something. But go ahead. We're gonna move into our topic. What is trauma and how does it look? Who wants to answer that first?
Before we move into the show, viewers, content of this podcast is going to discuss trauma and PTSD, which may be triggering for some of you listeners. So this is informational, right? This is not a substitute for professional advice. This is not a space where you get to self-diagnose. We're not doing that here today. We're just trying to inform you and encourage you that if you are experiencing any of the symptoms that we're talking about today, this is your sign that you need to seek some professional help from a mental health professional of some sort. Okay?
Yes.
Preferably certified, licensed. Yeah. All right. So let's dive into this question. What is trauma? We always say trauma. Do we even know what it is? Do we know what trauma is? And if we do, what does it look like? What does it look like to you?
I got scared.
Trauma is a negative impact on your life.
Yeah.
I've never heard of positive trauma, so I don't know. But all I know is the negative impact on your life that will change. It changes some people's life indefinitely.
Yes. Some people can't come back from it. Or we look at different types.
What does it look to you, though? We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's just, what does it look like to you? What are we talking about when we say trauma? Because, fight or flight. So we're talking about some fear. We're talking about a fear response, a response that is psychological, physiological. Okay. Response to what? What are we talking about? Like television,
examples
car accidents, someone getting their ass whooped. Yeah, what's
Yeah.
traumatizing? Because people throw that word around so loosely these days.
The video that we
I could
seen
even say
yesterday,
constant.
This was so traumatizing.
the
I
video
could
of the
say
little girl
abusive. Yeah.
watching her father get beat up. He said, I know this is going to be
The
traumatizing for
7-year-old
you.
little girl.
The 7-year-old little girl watching her father get beat up by another man and his brothers. That's going to be traumatizing for her. Yeah, if it wasn't traumatizing.
And trauma has a lot of violence in it. I would say it definitely is violent acts that put people in a bad mental space because we just don't know how to react to them. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes there's no way to react to it because it happens so quickly that the impact is doesn't occur until the future. I've had some traumatic moments that have definitely been impactful on down the line. And as I've gotten older, I've been able to recognize that that's what that was.
Yeah.
Is trauma really trauma though? If it doesn't have an extended impact, like something happens that's traumatic and then you're like, yep, that happened, but you don't necessarily have a physical or visceral emotion about it. Is that really trauma? Does it if it's trauma, does it have to have go ahead.
So I was gonna say, so we talk about PTSD, right? But a lot of the times we don't talk about ASD, and I can understand. This part right here is purely opinion. The ASD stands for acute stress disorder. So this is a traumatizing event where the same effects of PTSD, same effects, like it's just a cluster of symptoms, but the duration is shorter. PTSD is 6 months or more. ASD is 1 month, right? So it might be something like, oh man, I lost my job. Losing your job can be traumatic. Got in a car accident, so it depends on the severity of the trauma, but also there's another variable in there that's on the very back end that a lot of the times doesn't get mentioned in the conversation, and that is resilience. Resilience is so important because you endured this, but you gotta bounce back. Trauma will knock you on your ass, right?
Yeah.
Resilience does not mean I can win, right? Resilience is not let me get in the storm and endure it. Icicles, rain, thunder. No, I'm not in the storm. The storm that took out my house. I'm down. I'm homeless. But how do I recover from that? That's resilience. Did I bounce back from that? So I want to also notate this as well. Children are very resilient. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think they know that, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of children have experienced traumatic events and they're still studying resilience in human beings, right? So there's still a little bit of mystery surrounding how is it, like what qualities make someone resilient. There are certain qualities like optimism, there might be personality traits, right, that allow you to bounce back, right? It might be your mental flexibility, it might be your adaptability, like you just naturally have that. And so boom, I experienced this, but my brain was able to adapt to that. Certain kids have it, some kids don't. Some of it's genetic, some of it's cultural, right? But those two factors, the severity of the trauma and then the resilience of the child or the resilience of the person, those two intermingle and then boom, this is how you endure or live with trauma. And if you have it one time, you increase the risk of having it again, of acquiring, accruing, attracting another trauma. So, hey, I went into this car accident, but then there might be another car accident. I might be accident prone. Or I chose a toxic relationship. I was born in a toxic relationship, and so I attract those toxic, traumatic relationships.
Say that.
I have a question or a statement at the same time, maybe. I know I hear the resilience and I hear the trauma and I hear what if you don't are not affected by trauma. But one of the things that go on in the mental health world is sometimes you're not affected or you don't know that you're affected. Like other people can see it, like your actions and the things that you do and so on and so forth. You know how we say that's just how I am, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just how I am, or that's just how you know how she is. You know how I am,
Hmm.
but
Because
we
they
don't
disassociated from the
address it.
trauma.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
we don't address it as being trauma or
Mm.
PTSD or going through trauma. And I say that because I know that that's what I did because I didn't want to be a victim. So I
Mm.
disassociated that trauma. But on down the line, it
Uh-huh.
built up, and it put me in a
Mm.
bad space. So it's gonna get you.
Mm.
I think one way or another, and this is just from my experience, it will creep up on you and get you no matter how much you try to suppress it, disassociate from it, or whatever. It's coming out slowly but surely, twinkling out. And other
It's
people
gonna
may be
tweak
able to
out.
see it.
Baby.
Yeah, it may even be affecting your
Yeah.
relationships. It could be affecting your day-to-day life, but you are not acknowledging that that's why it's affecting you that way, or that this is why I do this, or this is why I say this, or you know, you just
You
don't
start
even associate it with that.
you start
Go
thinking
ahead.
that a trauma is a part of your personality trait instead of just
It's
what you
not
went
supposed to
through.
be. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
is
there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Especially if you grew up in a fishbowl that has had
Uh-huh.
trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, and the
Or
trauma is
drama.
reinforced
Trauma
or
and
drama.
drama.
Woo,
Yes.
girl, come on. Or the
Yes.
trauma is
Right.
reinforced, and it's reinforced in that fishbowl. You just, oh, this is just a
Mhm.
part of who I am, without realizing that you can definitely separate
Right.
yourself from your character traits.
You know, I want to go back to something Mike said about being a product of your environment. You don't always have to be a product of your environment, just like John was saying about the resilience. Um, if I was a product of my environment, I wouldn't be sitting right here, right now. And yeah, it does come back. And it is nothing like being broken all the way down to the point where you have to, like, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Fix yourself, get rid of the
Mm.
old and
Mhm.
replace it with something new.
Recognize,
I've,
yep.
I've been there.
Because,
I've
and I say
been
this
there.
all the time, we function in our dysfunction. I have functioned in my dysfunction for probably 20 years. And I'm just now within the last 5 years being able to realize that that was dysfunction. But we do it so well
You don't even know you're
because that's
doing it.
all we know. Mm-hmm.
You don't even know you're doing it. Like, and then when you grow up in a product of nothing but drama,
Mm-hmm.
you expect it everywhere you go. And I'm not gonna lie, you kind of get high off that shit. Like, damn, what's going on
Mm-hmm.
now?
That's your
Damn.
trauma
Mhm.
bond. That's your
It's
trauma bond.
called.
I bond with you. Go ahead.
It's
Not
called an
even
emotional addiction. Some people
not
get
a
addicted to the
person,
emotions.
just not a person, but just the situations. You know, growing
Mm-hmm.
up how we did in St. Louis, it's not every day you see a bunch of men running in the house with guns to go around so they can get ready to have shootouts. You in the midst of that, like, what is going on? Yeah, you think life is like that. You don't know anything else but that until you're introduced to it. And when you have something to compare, what you've lived through, what you've been through, and here is something new, man, you're gonna make a decision right then and there.
I got
So how
something
many?
to say.
Go ahead, Mike.
So for me, I think the question that John asked is what is trauma? And I think that's a great question. I think trauma is the echoes of the past
Mm.
that challenges your peace of mind, right? It challenges your peace of mind. And
Ooh,
everybody's going to have those echoes. Everybody has their trauma. It looks differently. It's dressed in different clothes.
there it is.
But there
Mm-hmm.
is a huge difference between a cow and a buffalo. Okay? Cows and buffaloes they both can feel when a storm is coming. They know when it's coming. What a cow does is it runs away from the storm. A buffalo actually runs directly into the storm. And what happens is when that buffalo runs directly into the storm, yes, it's going to be dark. Yes, it's going to be loud. Yes, it's going to be scary. However, it gets through the storm twice as fast as it should get through the storm because it ran through it. On the other hand, the cow, because it's running away from the storm, it lasts and it stays in that storm longer than it should be in that storm. It's actually staying in the storm longer than if it just stood still because it's running away from the storm. So the resilience that John is talking about is what it takes, right? It's what it's going to take to be able to get through the trauma. You need to get help. Like you mentioned, you need to get help because in our communities, we don't even know that we've been affected by trauma. We haven't seen the other side of what is not traumatic. We didn't know that everybody's parents didn't grow up screaming at each other. We didn't know that wasn't the norm. Right? So we didn't know that that's why we scream at our kids.
Yes. Right? We repeat that shit thinking we're doing the right thing. Go ahead.
Cussing and fussing all the time. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So there is this on Instagram. There's this page, black men go to therapy, right? And I remember one of the ladies who actually started. I think I want to say her and her husband. I think started Black Men for Therapy on Instagram because they were like, we need to get our men into therapy, right? And she said that it was so compelling that one of the first groups that she took in, she asked them all, do you have any trauma? Right? Now I'm like, nah. And then she started talking to this one brother who said that he didn't have any trauma. And he was like, yo, so when I was first teen and I first got shot, and she's like, wait a minute, boop, 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 stick a pin in that. You got shot? And she was like, do you not understand that is traumatic? He was like, nah, I mean, my father was shot. My grandmama got a couple, you know what I'm saying? Like not even being able to recognize that is trauma. Not even being able to recognize in our community what exactly trauma is, because you just think, oh, it's happened to everybody else. Again, in that fishbowl, not even understanding that part of that dramatic event was traumatic for you. You
never processed it. You took it as normal. You never processed it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, people don't think that like food insecurity, that's a trauma. Your parents, your parents getting a divorce when you were young, that's trauma. Like financial insecurity, just like Mike Lee was talking about, that's trauma. Growing up in that.
Not only argue, but fist fight.
Yes.
Right. But here's one that they think that we think, and I've seen it a lot of times, but you call your significant other, and on both sides, bitches and hoes. You bitch ass motherfucker, this, that, and this. The woman calls them that. The man, you ain't nothing but a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Funky ass hoe, this, that, and this. Your children are hearing this, and this is normal.
Yeah.
This is normal, and I'm not right. But these are traumatic situations to hear each other degrade each other in such a fashion where you hey, the older you get, and I'm not saying that this has not happened when I was younger because I've been in those situations, but the older you get, you sit back and be, hey, the kids are here. But when you 25 and 30, you working off your emotions so tough that you don't care if your grandmama, the pope, the priest, the whoever you worship at that particular time is there. You don't care. You just know at this particular time, this is a bitch ass motherfucker, and that's what I'm finna say.
Keep it a buck, man. Let's keep it a buck. That is real right there. That is real.
I mean,
we haven't been taught how to control our emotions, how to process our emotions, how to talk about our emotions. Especially the men in our community have been taught the men don't cry, be strong. So just imagine all the black men walking around with all that shit packed inside of them. And then we wonder why they're fucking aggressive. We wonder why they move the way that they move.
Right.
They talk the way they talk.
There's no outlet for it.
There is no outlet for them. None. And they act that shit. And it just comes out.
And that's why it's so important to talk about trauma openly and without stigma. The question that you posed, right? Me for myself going through my own traumas and trying to find somebody who talk to, and this is ridiculous. I had to seek counsel outside of my community. I wanted to talk to my people about my traumas. Right. I wanted to talk to Black women about my traumas, but the Black women I had in my life at that time were judging me. Girl, you ridiculous. You let him do what? Girl, you ridiculous. You did such and such. Right. You let your parents, but you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the main ones that say that it couldn't be me. It already has been you.
But they don't want to admit to it. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. And if you can't be vulnerable, and if you can't talk about your stuff without stigma,
you got to put on this facade. You got to play tough. You got to whatever goes on in my house. We've done the show. Like that. Whatever goes on in my house stays in my house.
Yes.
Keep this mask on.
You know what? I posted something earlier that said, like, it tripped me out. It was on a kid's website. It says our brains are wired for connection, but trauma makes us rewire our brains for protection. And you can't have healthy relationships in any place if your brain is wired for protection. You can't let people in. You're not going to allow yourself to be intimate with your facts and with who you are. You're not going to be able to bring somebody into whatever it is that you're going through if you cannot be vulnerable. So that's people always ask, why is it that the Black community cannot come together and do stuff? Because we have been traumatized generationally to the point of protection and not connection.
Survival mode constantly, all the way to slavery.
You might have to say that one again.
Man.
Have we ever had a time that we did not have trauma?
You said, what'd you say, AP? I'm sorry.
Have we ever had a time in our history that there was not trauma?
In the history of the United States?
No.
In the United States, the African American.
No.
No, ma'am.
Because even the police.
Racial trauma.
So we
racial trauma.
Right. So it's constant trauma. They say, what is it? A lifetime is 25 years. And if we 400 and some years from slavery, you start to find out our generation is 25 years. So we'll calculate what 400 some years back. And where does that put us at? Maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years or whatever, or 7, 8 generations of just constant. We have never had the chance. I want to go back to what you were saying about.
We haven't had a generation
trying
of
to find.
peace.
No,
after the feminist movement, the crack movement came in.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about finding someone to talk to on the left. So, and y'all know that I'm mixed, but I still grew up the same as everybody else. Get your motherfucking ass in there and wash some goddamn dishes before I beat the shit out of you. Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
So
when I'm talking to the lady of another race, and like you saying, when you talk about the trauma and stuff, like I can't tell her this is the way that she talked to me or something, because it's like, oh my goodness, she talked to them. I'm like, everybody mama talked to them like that, including my right. So that's why it's so hard for us to be able to come to these other races and explain the situation, because our culture is so different. And even though she was saying that, and it could, I would say that it's trauma, but we don't recognize it as trauma because everybody's doing it or saying it. Get your funny looking ass in there and do this, that, and this. Shut your silly ass up. You know what I'm saying? It was always very harsh, very harsh and stern words.
And if you did something,
yes, if you did too much, I'll hit you in your motherfucking mouth. You say it one more time. You know, we've heard shit, and she done hit me in my mouth. Shit when I did say it one more time. So I'm like, you want to explain that to people of a certain race, like this is what went on, but they are looking at it as it's a terrible thing, and I'm going to protection mode. Like, no, that's just my aunties was saying that. You know, I done heard my uncle say it, my mama say it. You know, it's not a big deal. So that's why we got to start digging deeper. Is that trauma? Is that a traumatic situation for us, or is that culture and custom?
So with that, that ties into this, the criteria, right? And this is very important because I want us to think about, all right, you have a vehicle, right? And you know that your vehicle is supposed to operate a certain way. If it isn't, where do you take it? If you don't know how to do it, where do you
you take it to a mechanic.
You take it to the mechanic, right? You're gonna take the car to, or maybe you're gonna take it to dad because he's good with cars, right? But the idea is you identified something wrong. You conducted a diagnostic, right? We conducted a diagnostic. So the criteria for PTSD allows us to say, this is what it is. It's not this, it's not that, it's not this. This is PTSD. So if you have what's called clusters of these symptoms, you know, there's treatment for this, all right? There's treatment options. So let's start off with the first one, which is exposure to the traumatic event. This is the central of the whole thing, right? You had to have either experienced, witnessed, or been confronted with an event that involved actual or imagined death, serious injury, sexual violence, right? So your physiological system had to have been shot. That's why we have anxiety. That's basically the alarm system going off saying, danger, 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 danger. We have an internal danger detection system. This is a dangerous event. Get out the way, run, get it, safety, right? And what happens is it becomes, the alarm system is basically overloaded. So it keeps coming back. It keeps alerting you even when there's no actual threat. Right, so the alarm system is sort of broken, and so we have to reframe and repair and figure out, hey, where, how, so we can treat that, right? So the first thing is the trauma that really marks this whole thing. Then there's intrusive thoughts, all right? So you have to have been experiencing like reoccurring memories or reoccurring dreams or flashbacks. Or even just feeling like you're having a panic attack, right? It's like maybe you heard something or you smelled something and suddenly your heart rate starts going up, right? Again, something is triggering those thoughts, those ideas. The substance of the traumatic event is now manifesting in that moment, right? So we got something that's intruding on your present moment. Then there's the avoidance, right? And this is avoiding thoughts, avoiding the feelings, avoiding anything related to it. It might be men. I'm avoiding men altogether because this man did this to me. I'm avoiding women altogether because this woman did this to me. I'm avoiding credit cards altogether because, you know, I was in this very impoverished state due to credit cards. I'm whatever it is, you're trying to avoid anything that reminds you of it to protect yourself, to preserve yourself. All right. And then there's alterations in your mood, your cognition. So this is maybe your inability to remember the traumatic event, right? Or maybe you have a lot of negative beliefs about yourself because of the event. Oh, I'm unworthy to live because this happened to me. Like, why would I deserve to live because this happened to me? You lose pleasure and interest in the things that you used to love, right? Just all of a sudden, it's just, dang, I don't like playing the game anymore. I don't like drawing, right? And then there's the arousal and the reactivity, the hyperarousal, right? So this is the irritability. You're always irritated by everything. Like you're just ready to go off. And then even when you react, it's very volatile. It's very angry. It's just like, who put the damn cup over here? Who left the damn window open? Who got the AC on 73? Every small thing. Why didn't you get a 73 instead of a 71? Overreaction, right? So if you have any, and then there's the hypervigilance because you're always on alert. So these are the individuals that's, you know, sitting in the coffee shop in the corner because they want to have that tactical advantage. They want to see everything that's going on, right? Or you're always jumpy when somebody enters the room. You know, you're just like you're on caffeine 24/7, right? Hypervigilance. Again, you're hypervigilant because you're like, yo, the world is a dangerous place. You got thoughts going on. And those thoughts are manifesting in your behaviors. So when we're talking about PTSD and how to treat it, it starts here first. So that's why I was asking, like, what if you could surgically remove that memory? How do you think that would, manifest in the body?
I just want to point out.
So with those, do they?
My bad. I was just going to point out that it's almost like there is a big T and a little T, right? The big T's are the ones that you can have, like, the traumatic about, like, I had an accident, maybe I got shot one time, something of that sort. The problem that I sometimes come across is, what about the repeated little T's, the repetitiveness? Like you were talking about, AP, like, get your ass in there and go clean them damn dishes, or like all of that, like drilling it into you, like day after day after day after day. You can get yes, because you can get some help, but you literally have to uproot. Like, if you have one of those little flashy things off of the Men in Black, right? Like, hey, we're gonna go back to such and such and such, right? And we're gonna erase this one event. But how about the 20,000 of those little T trauma events that happen day after day after day after day? Because that's what we're dealing with in our community. I think that we have, like, those little T's that all add up. So what do we start to do about that? I'm just putting that out there.
No, I'm with you on that one. I was going to ask about that, because does it necessarily have to be violence or harm or anything like that, or could it be the constant little stuff? I didn't think she was going to kill me, but I that constant hollering and fussing and that anger and so on and so forth.
Shaming.
I don't know. I don't know if that is a part of PTSD or causes PTSD, or if that's under another umbrella. But I do know just that constant thing. And not just, I see it now as I'm older, because I can see it from a healthier view, and I'm just like, this is not, you can just see how the children react to some of the stuff, and I'm just like, this ain't a good thing.
This ain't it.
But how do you reprogram somebody that they feel like, I'm doing better than what my parents did? At least I didn't do this.
Yeah.
I may cut you out all day, but at least I didn't. Yeah, at least I didn't punch you. You know what I'm saying? Or I might whoop y'all with a belt, but at least I don't use the extension cord. Because we start to try to process these things in our mind to rationalize things and make it like, at least I didn't. And it
right, but that sort of aligns. That sort of aligns with your ambitions for life, right? Because certain individuals that strive for excellence in everything that they do, even if you're sick, you're still going to be thinking, how can I be better? Right? Yeah. So even, all right, I'm a dad with PTSD, but this is just something I have. This doesn't mean that I don't have an interest in becoming a better father or becoming a better coworker. Everything is still intact. This is just something that's impeding on my life. It's in the way, right? But those are individual characteristics too. So what are the motivations for that individual? There's so many other elements now, because we got to think about what's their role in their family. Someone with PTSD that's got that support group versus someone with PTSD that doesn't have it.
Doesn't have
it. Right? That's going to manifest differently. But
it is.
Yep.
This right here. Have y'all heard
post-traumatic growth?
Have you heard of that?
Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Cannot put the genie back in the bottle. Yes. Yes, I have. Post-traumatic growth is when you start checking all your shit different.
Ooh.
Let's go ahead and keep that a buck for real. Because
I will say I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm going through it.
When you grow so much outside of your fishbowl, you cannot go back to the same way that you was living before. And it's bad because I've seen people, I have felt that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have felt that. They say that you shouldn't, I don't know. There's like a hood rule, like, you know, oh, the boys that I grew up with, them the boys that I still check with. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Right.
and then you wonder why. Why don't I have money in the bank? Why aren't my kids thriving in X, Y, and
Right.
Z? Why is it that every time that I try to put my foot forward to do something with myself in the community, why is it not going well? Sometimes when you have to grow, you realize that you can't take those people with you because they're not willing to grow. That's the
There you
post-traumatic growth.
go. There you
You know what
go.
I'm saying? I mean, I'm not
There
even
you
going, I'm
go.
gonna keep it complete and total buck. I'm not speaking to members of my
Yeah.
family now because I can't put that tube back in the toothpaste. I can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. I can't put that genie back in the bottle. And that's what happens when you start to grow. Just okay, I'm gonna shut up because I don't talk enough.
I
That's okay.
understand that 100% because there's so many things. Like I'm right now, and I think I got a little still PTSD, but I still have a little anxiety about certain situations. Like I'm not gonna never will I ever put myself back in that situation, and I start to feel a little anxiety because I don't know how I got there. So I get scared of certain situations, so I just avoid them. Yeah, and I put it this way, and I see you guys reading the thing, but I've been in a relationship that's so messed up that I don't even talk to the person anymore because I don't know how you got me in that fucked up situation. And since I don't know how I got there, I don't ever want to go back to that shit because you might just get me again. So that's the those are the feelings that I feel in certain situations. Like I don't know how I got there, but I have to disassociate myself totally because when you don't know how you got there, you don't know how if you can get there again. You understand what I'm saying?
No, they manipulate.
But you see that
first. And then
you see that's isolation right there. That's isolating.
Okay.
Right. That's a form of isolation. Right. So one of the characteristics of PTSD is to avoid, right? And I'm really big on isolation, right? And I used to always have qualms with people in the mental health community that would shame isolating. I understand what is implied. It's like, all right, there's a premise, there's a context. You don't isolate from the ones who care for you. Okay. Yeah. Don't isolate from the ones who care for you. But the ones who don't, isolate from them. It's a defense mechanism. Right. You're just protecting yourself, right? So it's not bad as long as you use it appropriately, as long as you use it logically. Why would you cut off your supply? This is your supply. Love, support, adoration. That's going to keep you alive, homie. So don't isolate from that. But these folks over here, that's, yeah. Go ahead and cut them off.
Right. We got a comment there at the bottom.
Yes.
This is awful touching.
Yeah. Miss Juju Smith. I am so sorry to hear that, love.
I am too.
That's nothing about your whole life has been changed.
But I love to see until I'm able to walk again.
Yeah.
That's optimism. That's the optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're healing all the way around.
I think that, first of all, Juju, congratulations and thank you for your transparency. It means a lot to
me. This is the lady that sold me my lashes last year before last. Yeah. Yes, it's my lash lady.
But, thank you for your transparency. I think, you being able to see yourself walking and running again, that is vision.
I think so
what you got to do sometimes is you have to protect your vision. You can't have vision conversations with people that only see sight. Right?
Wow.
You can't have a conversation about some people just don't see what you see. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. But the fact that you have that vision, lean on that. When it's tough, lean on that vision. Lean on those dreams. Yes, you will be running and walking again, right? So I just want to keep you encouraged and your transparency. Because of your transparency, you see that you have a team of people that's willing to help you. Granted, we're not claiming to be professionals and all, but we are people that have seen trauma, that have experienced trauma, and we're leveraging the lessons that we've learned from our own particular trauma.
I had to write that
And
down.
I'm definitely sending healing energy to you.
Ooh.
We will manifest. I'm sending all that energy
Yeah.
that you will be walking and running.
There
It's
you
not
go.
just a dream. It is going to
You are,
manifest.
you're dreaming it. That's, to me, that's preparing you for what's to come.
That's manifestation right there.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. It really is.
So I want to identify something critical with post-traumatic growth, the difference between post-traumatic growth and post-traumatic stress disorder. Mindset. That's the only difference. How you see the trauma changes your trajectory. How you look at your trauma. It's how you frame it. That's all that's changing. You looked at your trauma for what it is, and you said, I'm going to figure out how to deal with this. It's your attitude. It's your mindset about the trauma. You have those who are already preconditioned with the victim mindset. So I'm traumatized. My mindset is not to grow, but to shrink. But if my mindset is to grow, I'm not going to allow this trauma to dictate how far I'm going to go in life. It's just a change. It's a shift. I experienced this trauma and it woke me up. It woke me up. Everybody can't do this, by the way. This is not a, it's going to happen. It's not a guarantee. Right? It's really, and we've been studying this for about 10 years now. How is it that certain individuals experience trauma and they grow from it? How is that possible? Like, look at us. We haven't been healing. We haven't been healing. Come on now. We haven't been healing. You haven't been seeing people heal. You haven't seen it? I've been seeing it.
Can I just add a caveat to that? Can I just add a caveat?
Resilience.
It is resilience. But when you in that fish bowl, baby, to get to the top of the rim of that fish bowl, it takes a serious level of introspection. And you know how you just said, John, that mental health practitioners, they say isolation is bad. You know, they say isolation. Oh, you shouldn't isolate yourself from your community when you're going through. A lot of times, especially before you get that growth, you have to isolate. You have to go inside of yourself because I know for me, I was so disconnected from myself. But like before, I was looking at the external for everything, right? And I wasn't going inside because I didn't know that I had a me that was in there that needed my attention. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have, especially our community, you're going to have to take a pause, take a beat, go within, and then do the struggles, do the hard, heavy lifting that it takes to get to the top of that fishbowl to realize that wasn't necessarily the healthiest thing. Then you can actually start to heal. And there's absolutely no stigma. There is no judgment when you get to the top of that fishbowl. Go ahead, you got it.
And it's never too late to change.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are right now, what you've been through in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. If you got the right mind, it is never too late to change. So
I would like to touch on something about like going to the community, to our community and the trauma and stuff. And I had this, and I don't know what it's called, but I just know what happened with me, and I see it with a lot of other people. We have to play so tough and be so tough that I refuse to be a victim. So when my trauma happened to me, I was still trying to be this tough person and this bad mofo that was going, I don't take nothing from nobody and so on and so forth. But I had actually been victimized, but I would not acknowledge it or accept it. So I masked it. And I think that hurt me in the long run. So now here we are like 20 years later. And I had to deal with, you know what I'm saying? I had to deal with like, you were a victim and you need to accept that. You don't have to play the victim, but you were victimized. So you don't have to stay there. You don't have to wallow in it. You have to recognize that something happened and it was not right. And it has affected you for a long time. But we try to play so tough in our community, and we try to just keep bouncing back because we have so many traumatic things that have went on, that it's just one after another that becomes no big deal, that we sometimes we don't take the time to even acknowledge that there is any trauma. And that's one of the things I think that hurts us the most. I know that's what hurt me
Denial. We
personally.
refuse to look at ourselves.
It's not just a river in
refuse
Egypt.
to look at ourselves, man. And then we wondering why the same things keeps happening over and over and over.
It takes courage.
Yeah,
Healing takes courage.
Yes, it does. Courage, strength, will,
doing something unfamiliar,
desire.
not knowing whether it's going to work.
Right.
It was a mess almost 2 years ago. So, it was a mess.
Make a choice. Conscious decision.
I say I'm still a mess. I'm still a mess now. I'm still a mess now, but I'm healing.
You're a beautiful mess.
I'm a beautiful mess, and I can finally say that I am.
I got some messy tendencies. I ain't no mess no more, but I got some messy tendencies that still pop up from time to time. But
you got to realize it's okay to be a mess.
Yeah,
that part.
It's completely fine. Like it's supposed to be messy. It is what it is. But it's like you mentioned, John, it's about the mindset. Like the whole concept of rising to the occasion doesn't exist. People don't rise to the occasion. If they're dealing with trauma and they've never gotten any help, they're not going to just rise to the occasion. You default to your level of training. Right? You don't rise to the occasion. You default to your level of training and understanding and help and working on yourself. Like, so it's supposed to be messy, but the consistency, the resilience is what's going to get you over the hump. And then once you get through it, it's impactful because you're able to help somebody else that's going through the exact same thing that you're going through.
There you go.
Pay it forward.
Absolutely.
And if health is wealth, you just paying it forward. If health,
you really did.
I got healthier, and I'm gonna help somebody else get healthier. Oh man, we're gonna be healthy together.
Man, you better drop them bars, Mr. Mike Lee.
Yeah, I had to write some of that down. Don't be surprised if you see it posted on my Facebook tomorrow.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make a whole clip out of what he just said and run it. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in on tonight's live. We're coming up on our hour. We're trying to do something new. Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about treatments for PTSD. We talked about what it is, what it means, what it looks like, what it feels like. Now let's talk about how we heal that shit. And before we go, I want to send a special shout out to my sister, Miss Sherelle Levon Henderson. I'm sorry, Dr. Sherelle Levon Henderson.
Put some respect on that name, baby.
Man, it's not every day you see somebody graduate from college twice. She got her PhD, baby. She got her PhD. She is a PhD. She said, "I'm the doctor behind the doctor." I said, "Do it back." I am, when I say so proud of her. Graduated from University of Columbia. Was it Missouri? I'm sorry, University of Missouri. This past Sunday. You know, the first college was Xavier down there in New Orleans. Words can't even describe how we felt watching her, listening to her name being called. That is a huge milestone. How many of us can say we know someone that has a PhD, but know someone that has a PhD in your family?
Yes.
It takes a lot of dedication, and she went through a lot to get to where she's at. She overcame a lot and still overcoming a lot, and she still made it. That's some fucking resilience for your ass. So with that being said, baby, I love you. Congratulations. You did that. If you ever need anything, baby, I'm right here. Hey, G-Man. With that being said, does anybody have any closing, anything they want to say before we head out? All right, John, you got me?
Laters, y'all.